there's some cool news. We're going to talk about the, is it a new charity? I don't know. You should Google Donald Trump charity New York. You should Google that, just those words. See what comes up. You might not get the pardons for Pervos, but I think that might be a new charity. Maybe his kids are starting. I don't know. I'm not sure. We're gonna look into it. But there is some cool news. Do you remember this dude Bob Ross? Remember him? Awesome. Little afro, pet squirrel. Used to sit in his pocket. He'd feed him. Incredible painter. Sorry, my pet squirrel is acting up right now. This is unreal. I need to film this. The cat knows how to turn the door handles. And nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe me. And it's fine. It's fine. But I just thought. They're like raptors. They've learned how to open the door. I saw that. I know you thought no humans were looking. But like I saw you reach up to the door handle. I have to film this. This is remarkable. They've done it. They've learned how to open doors. Bob Ross. Remember that guy? He was on, if you're in the Boston area, he was on WGBH, PBS Channel 2. He had the joy of painting, where he'd come out in the beginning with the big paintbrush and paint the screen over for you. And then he said, just beat the devil out of it. He would talk about his brush, cleaning the brush, dip it in the paint thinner and go brrrr. It was ASMR before that was actually created. I need a little pet squirrel. I have a pet squirrel too. See, this is my pet squirrel. Hi. Say hi. Oh, smug squirrel. Hi. You're so cute. But we're gonna get to pardons for Pervos. I'm gonna play the audio of you, of not you. Well, is it you? I don't know. Is the president watching this? If so, don't hit subscribe. I don't care for you. But the rest of you, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm Rob. We comment on the news. I'm gonna play some news for you, where the president doesn't immediately shut down any kind of speculation on him pardoning perverts, deviants. The thing that Republicans fearmonger, it's so weird. I heard an audio clip of Stephen Miller earlier today saying, these people do these kind of crimes and they're out on the streets. And I was like, what about your boss, man? You know? He didn't release the Epstein files, and he's trying to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. We're considering it. Now, if you or I were in that position, I would hopefully you, I can only speak for myself, but I would be like, shut it down. She ain't getting a pardon. Did you hear about her crimes? Nah, she ain't getting out. Sorry. But because, you know, they go way back, they're close friends, you know, people are alleging that's how he met his wife, through them fellows. You know, he didn't shut it down. He was like, well, let's see what kind of blackmail she's got on me. Then I might have to pardon her. You know, this is what you can only imagine going through his mind. It's gross what they hide, 100%. And it's gross that there's a segment, 17% of Republicans still support this president. And that is disgusting. That's 17% too many, especially when you hear this audio. Good evening, Kevin Hawthorne. I hope you're doing well. But before we get into that, there's some other news. Listen. I know, like, you think, hey, there's only one news story today. Nope. Land of America. We have a couple of news stories.
Not so much.
Yes, we do. Anyways,
legalize comedy.
We're trying to, man. But this regime doesn't like anyone poking fun at them. If you don't want anybody poking fun at you, don't try to be so comedically evil, you know? Like, who's their next hire? Dr. Evil? They're going to get Mike Myers to reprise the role of Dr. Evil and hire him to get sharks with freaking lasers. So before we get to potentially the new charity called Pardons for Pervos, where if they just make a big enough, you know, we don't call it a bribe, we call it a donation. And they make a big enough donation, or if they have enough blackmail, you get a pardon, you get out of jail free. You know what I'm saying? But before that, look at this. Absolutely horrible. You know what radicalized me? When they decided Bob Ross was a woke leftist because he painted with compassion and empathy and thought everybody, you know, in their own right was an artist. That and the fact that, you know, if you try to go to the dentist to get your teeth fixed and something's wrong with you got to take out a credit card. That shouldn't be. You know, we could just tax billionaires. But because Donald Trump cut like $1 billion in funding, it's so, sorry, I can't even get through the beginning of the story. It's so crazy that they cut public TV station funding, but they'll send $20 billion to Argentina, to a fascist libertarian government that crashed its economy because they just let the corporations and the big business run wild. You know, no more regulations, cut back on all the social programs. Oh, what happens? Oh, when the people can't work, when the people who are the freaking economy, 70% of the economy is consumer purchasing power. When they have no money and they can't work and they're not healthy and they have nowhere to live, all of a sudden your economy ain't doing well? I wonder why. We're going to need an economist to figure this one out. And all of them get it wrong. And they have for decades and decades and decades and decades. But Bob Ross, absolutely amazing human being. If you've never seen his show, I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix. Maybe just pirate it somewhere. That's what they say. That's the old Somalian saying. Just go pirate it. But Bob Ross, amazing. Look at that, majestic. You know, my daughter, she'll be like, "You ever follow along with one of Bob Ross tutorials?" I'm like, "Are you crazy?" Nah, I just paint on my own. I ain't gonna try to paint next to a legend. You want to make my... You want to be the first person to make a mountain look like a stick figure? Nah. I respect everybody who painted along with Bobby, but I ain't doing it, you know? What's up, Barbara Bagany? Old Baba Ross. He's had paintings. In fact, I was like, a couple years back, I was like, what happened to all the Bob Ross paintings? I figured maybe they were at like the secondhand shops and I could score one for cheap. But it turns out like his wife had a bunch of them. And then I don't know actually what happened to the rest of them. I just heard like his wife was holding them and then they were probably like in a safe somewhere. I don't know, protected by sharks with freaking lasers. But it turns out, look, 20 to 30 paintings will be coming out of hiding. I don't think any Bob Ross paintings should ever be in hiding. If anything, we should laminate them and put them in the public square. So everybody can enjoy these, you know? And you do whatever season, whatever temperate zone you're in, you get the opposite of what he painted. So you could see what the rest of the world looks like, you know? I want to do a modern day Bob Ross painting where he's like, everything's just happy little Targets and Walmarts. There's no mistakes. Anywhere you go in America, it's just a little Target, then a Walmart. We're going to put in a CVS, and then we're going to put in a vacant Walgreens. Yeah, just put in a vacant Walgreens wherever you want. Just make sure it's vacant, though. You know, they closed it down so they could pay the CEO $100 million more. That's what I'm going to do. If you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, as soon as this channel gets big enough, I will do parodies like that. You've seen the costumes out at Spirit Halloween. I will get the costume. I will set up the painting, and then I will do modern day Bob Ross painting. If Bob Ross was living today, painting America, he'd be like, let's do a happy little highway. Highway that drives right through the middle of nowhere. You know, and everybody, you see, everybody's got to take a car. You see how no one could use the carpool lane? Just do a happy little car with a happy one person sitting in traffic. Because nothing is walkable in America. Oh, yeah, and if you want to put a big box store right off there, but make sure it's a Walmart or a Target, that's the only thing that exists. Any airport in America, you could get out and go right to a Walmart or Target. That's what I'm going to do. So hit subscribe. Make sure you hit subscribe. If you don't hit subscribe now and I do that video, I'm gonna ask YouTube to not let you see it. I'm gonna say they haven't been here long enough. Can I do that? Probably not. Um, but Bob Ross paintings coming out of the woodwork to again. This man is a hero. He brought painting right into your living rooms. You know, in the 70s, which like wasn't a thing, man. This was like breaking. I know some of you kids grew up with YouTube and stuff, and you're like, oh, I watch. What's that drawing show? I watch that family that draws. You know, I did a Pikachu. It's like, yeah, man. But back in the 70s, you had to have this huge clunky thing called the TV, and we had clickers. Gwendy, a couple cheated Bob Ross and stole his name and paintings and kept his legacy from his wife and son. Oh, really? I thought his wife had a bunch of his paintings because I was reading what happened to his paintings once he was done painting them. Bob Ross is a legend. Tim, I found exactly the niche you need. That was a very nice thing to say. Thank you. I hope so too. I'm hoping for like a alt-left pipeline meets Bob Ross parody channel. Is that a niche? That's got to be a niche on YouTube. There's got to be people who love Bob Ross, but also are alt-left pipeline. Like what radicalized me was seeing, you know, how many kids go hungry in America every night. You know, like those two got to have some crossover. Michael, the contract for his paintings was to never be sold. Yeah, that's what I thought. I read something. Again, I'm not too familiar what happened to his paintings. I just remember a few years back, because my kids love Bob Ross. I love Bob Ross. We'll watch it randomly from time to time, especially the episodes with the squirrel. I just go right for those. I go, what episode? Google, what episode did Bob Ross have that squirrel in his pocket? And they're like, season 22, episode 1. And I'm like, I'm there. I just watch for the squirrel. And then sometimes I put on Bob Ross and fall asleep because there's nothing like listening to Bob Ross beat the devil out of the brush while you fall asleep, huh? You really feel like Satan was getting a shake up when Bob Ross started going ding, 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 ding with his paintbrush. But yeah, no contract for his paintings. The contract for his paintings was never to be sold. Well, it looks like they made an exception, and this is probably the best one you can make. Bob Ross paintings are to be auctioned to support public TV stations after the $1 billion in federal funding cuts. Again, remember, that tax money is our money. This serves the community. This brings art right into the homes of every American who, whether you can afford cable or not, Channel 2, I don't even think they're replaying it, but you get what I'm saying. Like, that's the kind of entertainment and valuetainment. I think I just created that word. It's the kind of valuetainment. I think there's a Patty, somebody named Patty, who does stuff like that. He doesn't really provide value or tainment. This is the kind of edutainment. That's what it is. That the world needs, you know? And the fact that there's like politicians being like, this stuff's woke, man. It's like, really? So what? Dude had an afro, pet squirrel, beat the devil out of a paintbrush, you know? Pretty radical to me. I like it. He painted everything twice, once before the show and once on the other show. Michael, you know a lot about Bob Ross. I like you. I hope you would subscribe. You could be my Bob Ross. Bob Ross a tour. Bob Ross a tour. No. Connoisseur. Bob Rossasaur. That sounds like a dinosaur. You could be my Bob Ross connoisseur. Free Bob Ross. Free Bob Ross. Well, they're going to free the Bob Ross paintings. And can I just say, Michael, I don't know if you agree with this, but as my Bob Ross connoisseur, they are bringing back Reading Rainbow, Michael. Did you not read that? Or did you not see that? They're not bringing it back on Channel 2. I talked about this last week. Reading Rainbow is getting a reboot, but it's going to YouTube on Kidzuko with the new cast. I was disappointed they didn't have the Reading Rainbow thing, but you can watch the trailer. Aficionado, my Bob Rossianato. Michael is my Bob Rossianato. I think his paintings, I don't want to say be sold. I think they should be somewhere on public display, you know? Like there should be no private collection of Bob Ross. I don't know. He decided what he decided. Okay. I have an ASMR full list of Bob Ross episodes, of course. Only sane people have that. But this is brilliant. And it you know, it makes me happy to see that Bob Ross is again being a living legend. No. Once a living legend, now uh, it's kind of a zombie legend, you know, because he's coming back to life through his art. Hmm? Um, but he's again iconic, and he's going to help support public TV with his paintings. So rest in peace. Thank you, Bob, for being a little slice of amazing on Earth. Uh, 10 years of Bob Ross content on videotape from when I was a kid. That is incredible. Now that you should film and put as an ASMR video. You know, get the whole thing in from you putting in the VHS tape into the VCR, record it all. People would, you have a killer ASMR video right there. You like fumbling with it. You hit a little rewind to get it to the beginning. People would, you know, their ears would eat that up. Holy crap. That's pretty amazing, Swamp Dweller. Okay, so I wanted to bring this news to you because in all the poor management of our tax dollars, like sending $20 billion to Argentina, using how many millions of dollars on the National Guard invading our own cities, using how many hundreds of thousands of dollars using the FBI to flag Donald Trump's name in the Epstein files, and cutting it all. So, you know, this stuff isn't funded. It's good to see the paintings help fund public TV. Because you never know when you're going to see the next Bob Ross-esque show, you know? Think about a world like that, where like old tricky Dick Nixon was like, that Bob Ross is a hippie, I'm defunding him. You know, we would never, all of us now would not have our Bob Ross videos to fall asleep to. Think about that. What should you consider that? Take the politics out of it. You know, there's some people saying, oh, Channel 2's woke. PBS is woke. It's teaching kids empathy. You know, take all that out. I just want you to consider for a second not having Bob Ross right now because some tricky dick decided it was woke and defunded it. I seriously want you to think about that because right now, hold on, there's a gremlin. Hold on. Oh, you little, no. The gremlins are trying to eat the computer. God, I caught it. It's a mogwai. You can't get them wet. You can't get them wet. You can't feed them after midnight. You can't expose them to direct sunlight. Look at this mogwai. J666, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. It only takes 10 cents a day to sponsor an American. That is true, folks. Imagine a world with no more Bob Ross, Mr. Rogers, LeVar Burton. Well, I want you to think about that, because when I was growing up, the adults used to say, you know, we want the world to be better for our kids. Right now, with the federal funding cuts, Donald Trump cutting public TV, not public access, cutting the PBS stuff. Instead of them being able to have more funding to go out and find the next Sesame Street, the next Bob Ross, and not the same thing, but something like it. I want you to think about the adults, you know, in 40 years from now, when the Nestle water wars are happening and we're fighting wars against the Nestle army because Nestle owns all the water and they hire an army to fight people back because the people need water to live, you know, in that dystopian near future. And when those people are trying to go to sleep dehydrated, they're not going to have whatever the next Bob Ross is because this government cut that funding, you know? Talk about what radicalized you. It was thinking about the poor future adults, the children now who won't have a Bob Ross-esque character to fall asleep to his unintentional ASMR videos where he's beating the devil out of that paintbrush, you know? The best on TV. Correct, Michael. This is a stupid comment. Most kids are on phones. They don't care about PBS. Who are you to decide that for them? How many kids do you have? I'll tell you what, I put on Bob Ross and all of a sudden every other screen fades away and they start going, what is that dude doing? Is this AI? They all think he's AI. Oh, don't give the AI ideas. Shh, nobody repeat that, because next thing you're going to have is AI slop Bob Ross, and we don't want that. PBS is not trash now. My Christ. You calling the Wild Kratts trash? You calling what's that new cartoon they have? They have a few new ones, man. I love these PBS. PBS is amazing. I was radicalized by being born with severe disabilities into forced poverty to disabled parents. There we go. And I was radicalized by a nation that claims they want to be a Christian nation and they don't want to care for anybody with disabilities. They don't want to provide the basic and bare necessities for anyone who has a disability. In fact, this government right now passed that bill that's going to cut funding for healthcare for people with disabilities. And that radicalized me, because I think if you can't work, if you have a disability that, restrains you in some way or restrains whatever, I think we should be providing that housing, food, the water. We have enough. Elon Musk has $500 million. We got enough. So that radicalized me. No. The Christians, the Al-Qaeda, the white Taliban, the people who claim that they do stuff in the name of Jesus, but then cite Leviticus, the people who have zero understanding that Jesus didn't charge a copay when the kids came up to him and he said, hey, you guys got anything to eat? And they said, no, we've been fishing all day, man, and there's nothing being caught. And he said, go cast your net over there, and fed them. He fed them. Didn't ask for money, didn't ask how hard they worked, didn't say, when I was your age, I was a carpenter. He did none of that. Jesus just loved them. He hung out with the radicals, the outcasts, the marginalized. That's what radicalized me. PT Realist, you don't know what Jesus is then, do you? We forcibly take your stuff and give it to somebody else. You do understand that Jesus said, go and sell your things and give it to the poor. So he didn't force it upon you, but Jesus did say, if you want to be like me, collect all your stuff, sell it, and give the money to the poor. Go look it up. It's so amazing. This is my favorite thing, when Christians are like, sorry, Christianity isn't giving stuff to the poor. And it's like, no, Jesus literally said that. That is literally what Jesus said. Jesus said, you want to take up your cross and be like me? Go sell all your stuff, give it to the poor. You should look at it and see what Jesus said. You'd be interested if you're going to call yourself a Christian. If not, you should just call yourself like, I don't know what. Like somebody who uses Jesus as a weapon to defend my selfishness and greed. That's what you should do. But that radicalized me. People like that. People like that who think Jesus said, sorry, we're not forcibly giving anything to anybody in need. Like, you don't even know Jesus' story. Jesus' whole story was about providing for the needy. It's really surreal. It's surreal that that's a grown-ass adult being like, sorry, Christianity isn't about giving things to needy people. Sorry, dum-dum. What do you think it's about? He's like, well, Leviticus, the Old Testament. The Torah. He's like, the Old Testament, that isn't Christian, that isn't what Christians base their beliefs on. He's like, I think it says, like, if there's a gay penguin in a book, you got to burn it. These fucking morons. I am a Christian. I read the Bible every day, and clearly the people who do not understand that Jesus told people to sell your stuff, give it to the poor. You should look that up. It's amazing when you're led by these false freaking shepherds, these Joel Osteen types. But Bob Ross, look at that. His paintings are gonna support public TV. One more news story before we get to the big one. You know what the big one is, right? Christians also would never support Trump. Because, Jesus was the one who said, you live by those old commandments where it was like adultery is, cheating. He said, my new rule is if you even think about it, you're a cheater. And we know this guy cheated on everything and anything. Does not care for the poor, the needy, has never been charitable a day in his life. Again, Google Trump, New York City charity. Um, but before we get to this story, and I play the audio for you, look at this, man. You know, Pete Hegseth keeps bragging about what some are saying could be war crimes. Fishermen in Trinidad and Tobago fear for their lives and jobs after U.S. strikes in the Caribbean. This is kind of heartbreaking. It says this guy fears being killed by a U.S. military strike while fishing because he believes his boat could be mistaken for a smuggling vessel. I just want you to consider that, you know, that there are other people in another country like this regime has no restraint, and they're just, you know, propagandizing drone strikes and bragging about it with no evidence, nothing. And there are other people that are like, that's my livelihood, and I don't know if a drone's gonna just come and take me out one day. You would think America, who's got the most money, selfishly with it, very selfish, they don't even care about their own people. They send 20 billion of our hard-earned tax dollars to Argentina. America has the high-tech weapons, the most funded military, would show some restraint, or at least like some kind of due process or probable cause in the least. You know what I mean? Like just some kind of rule of law instead of just saying, trust me, bro, it was a smuggler. And then you got other people being like, man, they're just taking out boats. I don't know if I want to go fishing. That is not the sign of a real man. That is not tough. That is not macho. That is not alpha. If anything, that is reactionary, weak, fragile, egotistical, petty little men that are just looking for a pat on the back because they used a drone to do something, you know? This is very disappointed in our country right now. Very disappointed. Mostly the people, you know. I don't expect Trump to have decorum. He was best friends with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeff Epstein, you know. Like he preyed, he was a predator for young women, and he bragged about it on Howard Stern, you know, in magazine. He bragged about going backstage in these pageants he bought, and that's why he bought them, so he could go be a creep pervo. So I didn't expect it from him. The amount of adults that are like just okay with this, you know, and I want you to consider for a second, remove yourself from your victimhood and thinking like, oh, they're all out to get me. I'm a cis white male and everyone's out to get me. I just want you to consider for a second, like, you know, these are real people, man. That these are their livelihoods, and they're terrified for their lives. And I would implore you, in the name of that guy Jesus that some of you claim to worship, consider what would Jesus do. There was a great bracelet a long time ago. It was like, what do you think Jesus would say to you or something? I don't remember. But whatever that bracelet was called, I would just implore you, it's a new thing I'm saying, what do you think Jesus would do? I want you to consider that. Now, on to tonight's dish. On to tonight's main entree. Jesus Sanchez would pawn his bracelet. Hey, MDL, you leave Jesus Sanchez alone. He's a great bracelet maker. That's where I get all of my bracelets from. And that's how he makes a living, you know? And then this regime's like, oh, we've seen these guys peddling something in the streets and we had to drone them. The people didn't vote Tyler. Stop trying to claim like 49% of the vote is anything but, you know, not more than half. More people didn't vote for him than did. 17% of MAGA Republicans still support him. He's the least popular president ever. He has no mandate. He has nothing. So, you know, start reading. Start reading something, kid. All right. Where are we now?
Hello! No more beardos.
Man, imagine if Robin Williams, Miss Doubtfire came out today. Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, they'd all be freaking out. This guy, this Robin Williams, he's wearing a dress and trying to sneak into his ex-wife's house and he's trying to woke our kids, you know? Imagine, like it's so crazy because like I grew up with Mrs. Doubtfire, the Mighty Ducks 2. They both had female hockey players on their team. Ooh, the world's gonna end. No, I'm just kidding. It was like 1990, so we just weren't threatened. None of the guys on the Mighty Ducks were like, "Hey, what's a girl doing here, man?" And no one was like, "What locker room does she use?" We didn't even ask that question. I think she was in the guy's locker room, and no one was like, had their panties in a bunch. Could you imagine if Mighty Ducks or Mrs. Doubtfire came out today? The Trump regime would, classify it as woke media. This is how sensitive these men are, you know? Any dude that's truly secure in himself would watch Mrs. Doubtfire and after the movie run around going,
Hello!
hello, putting a pie on their face. Everybody be wearing a pie face for Halloween going, hello. But now, today, somehow, this orange turd who's never done a manly thing in his life, who's just been a petty, fragile egomaniac, has convinced people that that's a threat to their livelihood. That's a threat to their manhood. Mrs. Doubtfire wore a dress against a court order to see his kids. What kind of wokeness is this? The Mighty Ducks had a girl on their team, and then in Mighty Ducks 2, they went to the Olympics with another girl on their team. Kat, the goalie. By the way, Mighty Ducks 2, Kat the goalie doesn't even get to play until like the end. I don't want to spoil alert in it, but she should have got some more playing time. Come on, Goldberg. Resonance, good to see you, friend. As the time-reversed wave propagates back through the same distorting medium, the medium corrects the spatial and temporal errors that it originally introduced. And this is why I love resonant kinetics. This is why I love you. Those kind of comments, man. I don't think I understood it, but goddamn, was it cool to read. You spoiled it. I haven't seen it. T.O. Ricky. Sorry, T.O. I didn't mean to spoil it for Ricky. Ricky Baker. Ricky Baker. Ricky Baker. Where's my Ricky Baker? I never get to use this. So Uncle Tio Ricky.
Ricky Baker. Ricky Baker.
Oh, that's it. Okay. What did I walk in on? Audra Treadway. This is the alt-left pipeline where we get people to understand the silliness of them fearing everything that's woke. I was just talking about, we're going to talk about Donald Trump, the Pervo, his new charity. I think it's called Pardons for Pervos. How most normal people would be like, Ghislaine Maxwell pardoned? Yeah, right. Have you heard about her crimes? No, thanks. And he was like, I'm going to look into it. What does she have on me again? Yeah, I think we should look into that. But I was also talking about how if Mrs. Doubtfire and Mighty Ducks 1 and 2 came out right now, Republicans would be crying about how woke it is. See, we used to not care about this stuff, and now people are acting. This is why the Tim Pool stuff is so fascinating to me. Because I'm like, you're acting like bathrooms and locker rooms matter at all in a housing crisis. Like, how does that help anything? These laws, these bills introduced, this whole this show going on while they're stripping workers' rights, putting union busters in the head of the NLRB, while they're letting corporations pay less effective tax rate than nurses and working people. And they're like, we got to figure out this bathroom thing. It's like, guess what? We've had family bathrooms forever. In the Mighty Ducks 1 and 2, there was a girl in the guy's locker room, and nobody gave a shit. We used to not care about this because we were like, America, land of the free, who cares? And the people that are talking about, they're perverts in there. It's like Donald Trump is talking about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. I think you're focused on the wrong weirdos, okay? Stop focusing on the cool weirdos and start focusing on the crime weirdos. Fucking dingbats. You guys are a couple of dingbats. You know that? A lot of people are saying you're dingbats, and a lot of people are saying,
Everything's computer.
we got to talk about Donald Pervo. If you didn't catch it today on the Associated Press, they played a clip. I'm going to play it for you. Sage of Suffering. Donald Trump bragged about going into women and girls' locker rooms. He bragged about buying Miss whatever contests, these pageantry contests. And he bragged about being the owner of them and going backstage while they were undressing. Nobody that thinks they're going to talk about being serious with creeps in bathrooms and stuff gets to talk about anything besides Trump first. You voted for a guy who openly said, I'm the one doing what you're scared of. I'm the one, owning the contest so I can go into the locker rooms. He's the dude you're talking about, and you're letting him off the hook. So until you address that, you clean up the speck in your eye, you do a little housekeeping, don't lecture America, okay? Don't. We figured this out back in the 90s with Mighty Ducks 1, Mighty Ducks 2, and Mrs. Doubtfire. Everybody was cool. We had family bathrooms, gender-neutral bathrooms. And then you all elected a dude who was like, ooh, I bought the contest so I can go creep in the locker rooms. And everyone's like, yeah, we got to stop everyone else from doing that. Our president can do it, but everybody else, you're a creep. It's like, do your housekeeping, man. Get your boy in check. He's openly and willingly admitting that. Clean up your house. All right, let's listen to Donald Trump saying, hey, you know that pervert that's in prison for 20 years? I might pardon her.
Today, an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance at getting out of prison is a pardon from you.
Now, before we get to him, she says the only chance of getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Most normal people with a rational head, people with kids, people that live in a community, people that have, seen a kid before and thought like, oh, we wouldn't want a pervert getting their hands on him. Most people would be like, hell no, we're not letting, did you hear what she was sentenced for? Hell no, we're not letting her out. That's the normal reaction. And you would think from people like the fearmongers who were like, oh, the weirdos in the bathrooms, the weirdos in the locker rooms, you think they would be the first ones to go, she should never be out of prison. But here's their leader.
Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it.
Who are we talking? Who's that again? Oh, that's right. My best friend who had that birthday card book that I said didn't exist and I had never drawn a picture. What's her name? Ghislaine Maxwell? Who is this? I love how he feigned stupid here. He knew exactly who we were talking about because after he was like, oh yeah, her, I got to look into it. She's got a lot of blackmail on me and she knows all the secrets, so I'm probably going to say I'm going to look into it. Normal people who want justice for the survivors, who do not want creeps in the community, would immediately, without hesitation, you would go, no. This is simple. This isn't a tough one. And the weirdest thing is all the people who still are considering themselves maggots and following Trump, the people that if I bring up women, men's bathrooms, whatever, you say anything like that, and they all go, yeah, who wants these people out on the street? Donald Trump just said he wants the woman who is poaching young women for the Pervo connection, or whatever they were calling it. He might pardon her. Where's your outrage now? Or do you only get mad when it's other people? When it's your chicken supreme leader in chief, old Taco McOrange boobs. Does he get a pass? How come he gets a pass? The irony, the hypocrisy. It's killing me. Oh, God. You hear this, dude?
I would have to take a look.
Would you have to take a look? I would say you don't have to take a look. I would say, in fact, they sentenced her. You could say, you know what? I know her crime. I read about her crimes. They're heinous. No, I don't have to take a look. I'm the president. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to listen to judges. He doesn't have to not do a meme coin. He doesn't have to not take jets from Qatar. This guy doesn't obey any law, and he's like, I really got to take a look at that Ghislaine Maxwell pardon. For what reason? Explain to me what reason again? You would have to look at it? I think maybe because she's got the blackmail. Because remember when he said, oh, I didn't do the birthday card. I've never drawn a picture in my life. And people were like, yeah, he doesn't draw. He doesn't. No. He said doodle. He doesn't doodle. Like they were looking for anything. And then this came out.
Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? And Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you.
That was released by the Maxwell people. So you know she's got more dirt. You know the other thing? I'm not going to talk about it tonight, but I'm going to give you a tease. Did you see this? All the rats are abandoning ship. Mullet rat guy, Aiden Ross rat guy, Polio Rogan rat guy, all the manosphere, all the fragile ego. I have to be right, don't challenge me, podcasters who bragged. Andrew Schultz rat guy. All the guys who bragged about how they helped put the president in the most powerful seat in the world. Now look, Schultz. I voted for none of this. Actually, he voted for all of it. He was like, we have Project 2025. We have it's a pamphlet. You could read about it. There was many news channels being like, they're going to do Project 2025. So you did vote for it. Unless you're a dum-dum. Then maybe you can say this. But just because now it's as bad as he promised and everybody warned about, you don't get to go, well, I didn't vote for this. No. I can't believe people take these people seriously.
I said, well, let's see how we say that. I said, Minifin.
Oh, what a dummy. That's got to be a tough word for the president to say. Holy crap. You know what radicalized me? A guy who railed against everything and then couldn't pronounce acetaminophen.
I said, well, let's see how we say that.
How do you say it?
I said, Minifin.
I don't know. I want my president to have a higher than like a level 3 on those kid books reading level. Holy Christ. Jesus, people. Jesus, people. Old hot air Don. Thank you, Barlight Broker. Oh my God. Okay. Joe couldn't say many words. So tomorrow, this is a gate-kept article by The Stones That Roll, the Rolling Stone. But I might take some pictures of it so we could read it together. Don't tell no one. That's the next thing. You know how like Netflix used to say like, oh, you know what love is? Sharing passwords. There was a tweet that they did. And now they're cracking down on password sharing. Times are tough. Sometimes you got to do it. But the new thing that they're going to crack down on is like guys who screenshot articles so you could read them for free. Don't say I never encouraged you to read. I did it even if some say it was in a pirate-esque way. Some say it was like a Jack Skellington. Jack Sparrow. A Jack Sparrow way. Okay, don't forget. Bob Ross, again, being an American hero. Put Bob Ross on the money. That's who we should put. Harriet Tubman on the 20. Bob Ross on the... on the hundo. Put old Bobby Ross on the hundo. Put a squirrel on the other side. So don't forget Bob Ross. Being a hero. All right, guys. Now Mr. Rogers. Ooh, we should put Mr. Rogers on some coins. So everybody that's still down with Bob Ross and doesn't think he's woke, and we want to fund whoever the next Bob Ross will be, so the adults in the future can have their Bob Ross ASMR during the water wars that Nestle will probably instigate. Optical computing will not be vulnerable to any hacks, and the video is already there. I'm telling you, Resonance knows what he's talking about. Good to see you, by the way. Haven't seen you in a while, so good to see you. All right, guys.
Chicken jockey.
No more beardos.
Oh, beardos were cool, man. What are you going to tell Mark Wahlberg when he goes to play like a special ops character in his next, war propaganda movie? You got to shave that beard. You got to look like Marky Mark, not Mark Wahlberg. All right, Sage of Suffering. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you sharing resonance. Much love, much respect, guys. Be kind to one another. Remember, Jesus did tell those rich people, sell all your things, give the money to the poor. Remember that guy earlier in the chat was like, sorry, Christianity isn't about giving needy people stuff. It's like, well, that's actually exactly what it's about. That's why Jesus died on the cross for you. I should have told him that. I doubt he's still here, but that guy was like, sorry, Christianity isn't about giving needy people things. It's like, oh, really? Wasn't there something about God's grace and how none of you are worth it, but he gave his only son? Weird. But yeah, go on and explain Christianity to me again. It's so funny how some people are that unaware. And your pervert uncle, or whatever he is he your pervert daddy? What does maggot consider Donald Trump? Uncle Grandpa. Your old orange Uncle Grandpa was considering pardoning Diddy, I'm guessing for a donation, because, they don't like to call it bribery. And I'm guessing all Ghislaine Maxwell's camps got to do to get a pardon is just release another birthday card or some other dirt. All right, guys. Be kind to one another. Love one another. And we're going to make this country for the working class again. Stop listening to people that tell you it's a culture war. Mighty Ducks 2, Mrs. Doubtfire, we solved all this in the 90s. Nobody was fragile and threatened and intimidated by it. We weren't feeling like we were victims and under attack. And when they were actually convicted weirdo creep pervos, we didn't consider pardoning them. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Much love to you with the little heart. I see you. I love you. It's good to see you. Thank you for earlier. And let's check in tomorrow.